अभी बात
Hi, Caroline. Hello.
Hi, Auntie. Lovely to
Hey.
see you. I'm on
Oh,
mute.
nice to see you on this. Is this a family affair?
Almost. When I heard that they were having a special LTS, when Jess told me that, I said I
Yes.
must join.
Yeah.
LTSers till class 10, so I said I must
And
join.
Jessica is the principal of
Yes,
the school. My
yes.
goodness.
And Sonia is also, she's here from Loretto Elliott Road. She's on the meeting
Yes.
as
So
well.
we too will be there.
So
That's great.
I'm going to mute myself, Auntie, because I'm
Okay.
not part of the panel. I'm just a guest.
Okay.
Okay, Auntie, all the best.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can. In
Yes.
fact, some of your old LTSers have mentioned in the chat
Yeah.
that they can see.
Okay. There's a chat now.
Before we begin, I would like to inform you that we are going live on YouTube and Facebook. We have LTSers and past pupils joining us all over to be a part of this program. A very good evening and a very warm welcome to our Reverend Sisters, the Chief Guest, Mrs. Stockman, the Guest of Honor, Principal Ma'am, Mrs. Surana, respected principals of different schools, our distinguished delegates, teachers, fellow LTSers, and friends. It is a pleasure for us to have everyone gathered on the very auspicious occasion of the Diamond Jubilee of the LTS Kolkata chapter. Let us start our event with the brightness and the purity of the sparkle of the Diya ceremony. There is a huge
Hey.
significance. There is a huge significance of the Diya. The Diya presets light when the oil is burnt by the wick, symbolizing the selfish and materialistic thoughts being burnt away, which frees one from all forms of sadness and guides one to the path of enlightenment. To commence this very activity of peace, we now request our chief guest, Mrs. Stockman, and Principal Ma'am to join us for the lighting of the diya.
कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् गुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं गुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
Please allow me to enjoy this feeling of felicitating our most respected chief guest, Mrs. Daphne Stockman, who has joined us all the way from Canada. Welcome back to yet another LTS event, ma'am. LTS, the abbreviated form of Leadership Training Service, is a 60-year-old youth movement mainly for students in colleges and schools. Initiated in 1959 by 5 students of Githol's Memorial School, Kurseong, the movement now provides leadership training to student leaders in 3 South Asian countries: India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. We now present a message from Father John, the Promoter General of LTS South Asia.
Warm greetings to respected principal, LTS animators, and my dear fellow LTSers. My heartfelt wishes to all of you on the occasion of the LTS Diamond Jubilee celebration. May this celebration transform you into a better leader. We are witnessing history as we celebrate 60 years of the LTS in Calcutta. It is a memorable event and a proud moment. Let us spend a few seconds to thank God for this abundant grace that made us privileged members to witness this historic milestone event. On this auspicious occasion, we are also celebrating 62 years of the LTS in South Asia. We take this opportunity to thank all the great pioneers who conceived the idea of student leadership and handed over the flame of legacy to us. This occasion should have been well celebrated, but due to this tragic pandemic situation, we are postponing the celebration to a later date, to a post-pandemic time. We believe the occasion is more important than the date. So, we will come together as a family and celebrate it together once the world reopens and we will be able to meet one another. Now, we celebrate the Jubilee on this actual date with a simple but meaningful celebration in the LTS unit level. As we are in this celebrative mood, let us reflect about the relevance of the LTS. What is so special about the LTS? It is started by students and is continued by students. This means you, the LTS members, are in focus during this celebration. Your future is seen in the horizon. The LTS Center, your principal, animators, and your parents are there as strong pillars to support you and groom you as refined leaders in the way defined by the LTS motto, vision, and mission. Thank your principal, animators, and parents for having an LTS unit for you and providing you a wonderful opportunity to sharpen your leadership skills along with your academic achievements. This occasion has to be a time of individual celebration for the LTS members. But this individual celebration needs to be in the context of leadership training. This great day needs to challenge you to recognize your role in building a better world. Be proud that you have opted to become a leader in the LTS way and would like to make a in the life of the nation and the world. Celebrate your life as a leader in the making with ideas, principles, and principles. Celebrate as a person who has great dream for you. Celebrate this day as spiritual person. Celebrate maybe you an opportunity to citizens and confident leaders
Our first speaker for the day, Mrs. Natasha Solomon. She is an ex-student of Loreto Convent in Tally. She has been an active LTSer. Currently, she is living in the United Kingdom with her husband and daughter. She works in children's services in a managerial role, ensuring deprived children suffering from abuse are protected and are leading a fulfilling life. She loves her job as it gives her the opportunity to make a positive difference in the lives of children and their families. Over to you, Mrs. Natasha Solomon.
Thank you, Miss Mera. I would really like to extend a warm thank you, heartfelt best wishes to the principal, Jessica Gomsurana. Thank you very much for inviting me. And the animator, Miss Pillai, thank you very much for inviting me as well. Um, I am so grateful and honored that I could be part of this fantastic Jubilee, Diamond Jubilee occasion for all LTSers. Um, Leadership, I'm no academic on leadership. I can only share my own personal experiences, and I hope it will resonate with some of you. Leadership has started not only from being in LTS, but it has started from my very foundation in being a Loreto girl. So all my schooling has been in different Loreto schools. So I'm ever so grateful to all the Loreto nuns who have helped to shape and mold me the person I am. LTS has been just another platform that has enhanced my leadership skills. And I am where I am because of all the foundation that the Loreto nuns have given me. So I'm ever so grateful. Thank you so much. I am so grateful and honored to be here. My understanding of leadership, especially in this moment and time, the crisis that we are in, is the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Martin Luther King Jr. It is very telling for me that it is now is the time to lead your friends, your family members, your loved ones, the nation, your country, to stand by each other, to look after each other. That's what is leadership to me. There is lots of leadership quotes on YouTube, on Google, lots of motivational, inspirational leaders who will give videos and talks. So that is absolutely brilliant. But it's what it means to you day in and day out at every level, at a level of being a student, of being an employee, being a wife, a daughter, a husband, everything that means to you. For me, without integrity, there is no real success. So, being honest to yourself, being honest to the people you love, is important to lead them into the way that you think is the best way to fulfill their potential. What has taught me throughout the years as being a good leader that learning and leadership are indispensable to each other. John F. Kennedy. I know I'm not going to say how old I am, but definitely old enough. And my experiences, both in India, in my life as a student, as a college goer, as well as my life in the UK, has taught me that I learn every single day. Even now, I learn from people, I learn from the children that I am part of being an organization where I'm looking after them. They teach me something every single day. So, a leader, in my opinion, should be open minded, should value others' opinion, should bring people along. So, the more you are able to bring people with you, that's how you become a more efficient and effective leader. You cannot be a leader if you have no followers. So you can be very good orator, you can talk about any topic, you can be very intelligent, but if you don't have anybody following you, your effectiveness is minimal. There is some new very good videos, I must say, on YouTube from Simon Sinek, and he's quite young, enthusiastic, and he gives loads of motivational leadership talks on Google and YouTube as well. And one thing that resonates with me is working hard for something hard you don't care about is called stress. And I'm sure all of us at some level are stressed, whether it's exams or studying or your, I don't know, paperwork in as an employee or checking papers. It's always stressful when you don't care about it. But working hard for something you love is called passion. So if you turn whatever you are doing into something that you love, or you find a purpose, or you find a vision, you will lead in that area. You will lead in that profession. You will lead in your studies. You will lead as a personality. And that is all the principles that I have gathered, not only from LTS, but I would say from my life being a Loreto in Taligal. So I'm very, very proud of the foundations that I got from the Loreto nuns and a lot of the faculty members who I still know. So thank you very much. I know Mahatma Gandhi said, I suppose leadership at one time meant muscles, and it still might mean muscles in India with all the Hollywood good looking lads, but or Bollywood good looking lads in all these movies. But today it means getting along with people. In the world pandemic crisis that we are all in, we are all affected by this common disease, which is saddened and very, very difficult that we cannot meet our loved ones all over the world the way we would. It's the new normal. We've got to look at COVID restrictions and see how we can change our way of working and leading, especially now with this technology that we have embraced. What what resonates with me is taking care of each other at a smaller level, at your work level, at a city, nation, any level really. what this pandemic has brought us down to our knees is to believe that love, passion, trust, and a fear of God is important to us now more than ever. I can say lots of other things about what great leaders are and what great leadership should be. There's so many different types of leadership and styles of leadership. It could be charismatic leadership, it could be situational leadership, it could be lots and lots of things. But in this now, in this world, I feel leadership is leading from your heart, is caring for each other, is remembering that you are human, and being human will help you lead the way forward. Thank you very much. And if I don't know if anybody wants to ask me any questions now or later, Miss Mera, over to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Natasha Solomon, for your inspiring and motivational words. Yes, indeed, a leader must have followers. And to be a leader, to do things from our heart, we have to have that kindness, the passion which ignites us forward to do something for everyone and be a good person ourselves. Thank you so much, ma'am. I move on now to our second speaker, Mr. Puneet Topiwala. He has completed his education from Calcutta, first St. Joseph's and then St. Xavier's. He did his graduation with honors in commerce and post graduation from ICAI. He worked for a short spell in the private sector, Birla Sun Life, and Morgan Stanley. As of now, he is a technical analyst and investment banker based in Bangalore, covering extensive research on Indian industries with important emphasis on corporate social responsibility. He is a member of Bangalore Task Force, which he believes is a fallout of being an active LTSer. He is a member of the Confederation of Indian Industries and Bangalore Chamber of Commerce. He was featured in the Business World mag in 2014 as a case study for Journey of an Entrepreneur. Over to you now, Mr. Huneet Topiwala.
Uh, Thank you, Kavita ma'am. That was such a nice introduction and such a warm one. I'm really, really, out here feeling so happy to be part of this celebration that we are having right now all across the globe. I'd like to felicitate and thank Father John, Daphne ma'am, the principal of Loreto, Sudha who's here, who's the animator, teachers, viewers, and brother Brendan McCarthy, who's here amongst us. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me here. As I was listening to Natasha's, I felt that, this is a very short time that we are having. We are having around 10 minutes. And if we have one thing to take away, let's take away one thing from each speaker. And if we can do that, I think our 2 hours that we are here will be well spent. So there was this poem in school, not a poem, a prayer, which Brother Brendan had used to say it. And I always used to think that he had coined it. But when I was introduced to the world of Google and internet, I Googled it out. It was not Brother Brendan. I still believe that it's Brother Brendan only. But the prayer goes like this: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change things that I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference. These three lines sums up what leaders should be. I know a lot of people would, in Calcutta or across the world, would be saying this prayer or would be hearing this maybe quite often. But the fact is, if you follow these three words, this is what a leader should do. Again, I will repeat it. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change things that I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference. first two lines are very simple, very easy. Things we can change and things we cannot change. Things we can change, we should have the courage to do it. Things we cannot change, we leave it. And there is the wisdom to know the difference. That's very, very important. That wisdom to that fine line that is there, we should know that okay, this is what I can do and this is what I cannot do and I should not do. So that's very important. Here sitting out here, I can rumble of what a leader should be, like qualities of a leader, like integrity, ability to delegate, learning ability, gratitude. But this takes a whole session or a 2 3 days seminar to understand these. Each are traits of leadership. Today, let us concentrate. I thought to make it more interactive with the people out here who are there on this link, as well as people who are listening to us on YouTube, just seeing us on YouTube and Facebook. Let us make it more interactive. I know they are 15 seconds behind us, but whatever, I'll try to do this. I have shared the link with the moderator out here. Can you show the slide number 1, please? If you cannot, I will share it from my laptop.
Yes, that will be better. I think the students are doing that.
That was right. Yeah, and can you all the participants who are there? Can you see the chat box on your right hand side? Bottom right hand side, chat with everyone. The second last button. Say hi from there at least to me. This is an activity I would like to do in the short span of 5 minutes that we are having. Fantastic, fantastic. I'm getting so many highs here. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, I have shared with you on your main screen where with youngsters going there and spending time, and brother and Daphne ma'am and everybody used to be there, and we would have these workshops. It would be very important. So I take this opportunity to thank each and everybody out here, and let us look within ourselves before jumping to any conclusion. I just want you to take one take before I end. If everyone on the chat box can tell me what is the takeaway from the presentation I made, because Facebook is 15 seconds behind us, so maybe by that time they will not be able to put it on the chat box, but others can put it. What did you take away from this session? It's very important. Even one small takeaway is good enough. At least from Natasha's thing, which I took away, was there are types of leaderships and qualities of a leader, and leaders must have followers. This is what I took from Natasha's session. Thank you so much for inviting me. Wishing you a very, very happy, convivial, and salubrious year ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Homet Topiwala, for creating awareness among the young generation. What I felt was that we human beings are very judgmental. As a result, we do make a lot of errors. So we need time to first analyze and then jump to conclusions about people especially. Thank you so much for your sharing. In the chat box, we do have some of them writing.
True, yes.
Almost the same. Not to be judgmental.
Yeah.
Analyze before judging. Don't jump to conclusions at once. We now move on to our third speaker for the day, Mrs. Swati Joshi Pant. Hailing from Uttarakhand, Mrs. Swati Joshi Pant is an ex-student of St. Mary's Convent, Nainital. She was associated with the LTS during her school days till 1995. She did a post-graduation in English from Delhi University and a B.Ed thereafter. She worked for a short spell in the Content and Assessment Development divisions of various organizations. Currently, she teaches school children in a school run by her family in Haldwani in Uttarakhand. They had started the school 7 years ago. Mrs. Swati enjoys traveling, trying out new recipes, and interacting with like minded people. Her motto in life is don't let life get stagnant and dull. Be on the go. Over to you, Mrs. Swati Joshi Pant.
Swati, you need to unmute your microphone.
Let's start from the beginning then. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you
Uh,
now.
sorry, yeah, sorry. First of all, good evening, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be present amongst all of you today on this special occasion, and I'm happy and honored to be given this valuable opportunity to convey my views on what leadership means to me and how we can explore ways to enhance its effectiveness. I feel it's such a topical issue today, which indeed merits some discussion. Well, leadership has to be ever evolving and inspiring and truly effective, which all of us know. And especially as you all mentioned earlier, as Ms. Natasha mentioned and Mr. Hunair mentioned, that in today's crisis ridden times, especially with this pandemic still looming large all over the world, the concept of leadership is being tested all the more. And the ability of people to guide their fellow citizens and help them during crisis, is an important aspect of leadership. The world today is in need of visionary leadership, which is the hallmark of a true leader. As far as the LTS is concerned, my association with the LTS was during my school days till 1995. And during those 5 years, when I was a part of the LTS family, I attended a few LTS camps at different places, one of which was in Kolkata at the Dhyan Ashram, which is on the outskirts of Kolkata. And because of that, that LTS camp which I attended, I'm in touch with few of the people who are, a part, like Mr. Hunair, who's a part of the panel here, and also Ms. Sudha, who's the organizer of this meaningful session today. And just wanted to tell you that the rich interactive sessions and the meaningful group-based activities we carried out during those camps brought out hidden leadership qualities in many of us and further woke us up to our inherent potential and how to work on us ourselves by constant self-improvement. The qualities I discovered in myself during the LTS meetings and interaction with other members way back have benefited me over the years in several ways in building a holistic personality. The qualities of leadership have helped me at home, in the workplace, and in society, and I've had meaningful associations and experiences in my life by applying leadership qualities like empathy, decision making, selfless service, and vision. I've realized that with changing times, leadership too has to evolve in order to be truly effective and efficient. A leader has to keep learning and be updated with what's happening around him or her to gain a true understanding of the ground reality. We need leaders who are updated in different fields. In order to be truly effective, we have to have the knowledge. Without true understanding of the situation, a leader cannot guide and direct the people to a proper solution. In a world where problems and confusion prevail, especially in today's times, clarity of thoughts and ideas is a much needed quality in a leader. Discussion with others, respect for others' ideas, and reaching a consensus where the welfare of all is taken into consideration are all genuine leadership traits. The reason we are emphasizing these qualities all the more today is because somehow in today's leaders, our political leaders, these qualities seem to be missing. Today, leadership seems to be more about self aggrandizement and less about service to society. So that is why today people are, kind of, people don't feel very, sort of, positive about leaders, because all around we see leaders only trying to, who are who are only working for themselves and not for society. And the reason they were chosen in the first place was to be of service to society, which unfortunately is not happening today. Anyway, each of us can bring about a constructive and positive change in our lives and in the lives of others, of those we interact with in regular life, simply by practicing some essential leadership traits. We don't have to be in politics to implement our leadership qualities. Let us begin with our families, our neighborhood, our workplace to bring betterment in their lives by reaching out to those in need of our valuable leadership and guidance. Hence, true leadership has to be dynamic, confident, all inclusive, all encompassing, and truly visionary in order to see lasting positive changes in the world around us. This is all I have to say. And thank you once again for giving me this wonderful opportunity to express my thoughts. And it brings back fond memories of the days when I was a part of the LTS family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Swati Joshi Pant, for igniting the young minds to get involved in their communities and begin their own journey as active citizens. Their efforts will be a huge positive contribution to the society. As you were just recalling our days at the camps at Dhyanashram
Yeah.
and the work days we have had at other places, now that has changed a bit. There is more personality development. That is the need of the hour. However, our children are ignited and they have also learned that according to the LTS, they need to be agents of social change. And we do keep learning. At my age, I am also learning regularly. Each day is a lesson. However, having that empathy, respect, welfare for others. There's something at one of the camps, one of the LTSers had said, which I use in my sessions in school: learn, earn, and return. So now our young LTSers, our students are learning. Once they start earning, they have to return to the society. You must give back to the society. Thank you so much, Mrs. Pant. We now move on to our last speaker, Brother Brendan McCarthy. Brother may not be remembering, but my introduction to LTS was through Brother Brendan. I was a student of St. Joseph's Convent, Chandanagar. In class 9, Brother had come there to introduce leadership training service to the girls, all of us there. And I still remember vividly, he made all of us stand on a bench and speak so that we could be good public speakers and be confident. That is one thing which I always cherish. Thank you, brother, for being a motivational factor in my life and making me live the way the LTSers should live, a way of life for life. Brother Brendan McCarthy was an active member of the LTS during Father Worth's time. As director, he enjoyed the experience hugely. He has been involved with youngsters within the educational structures, schools, and college for many years, as well as with their less well off counterparts on platforms and outhouses. He has worked with Dr. Samir Chaudhary's Sini Asha youngsters, whom he had rescued from the footpaths of the city. He has taught value education as a B.Ed subject in both St. Xavier's and Loreto College. With two former students, he founded SERVE towards making life less suicide prone for our school and college youngsters. Since we, India, have the highest student suicide rate in the world. When he left Kolkata in 2019, SERVE ceased as an NGO and is now a movement directed by Mr. Basu, a teacher in Beaubazar. Since COVID, Brother has written a lot towards encouraging people to help youngsters survive in mental health terms. He is still engaged in doing that sort of work, bringing solace to countless youngsters. Over to Brother Brendan McCarthy from Chandigarh.
Thanks, Kavita. First, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Being an old man, I'm not used to these gadgets, and so I constantly make a mess of it, and I have to get a rescue squad. Even starting today, first of all, I'd forgotten it. My memory was always bad, now it's worse. And then when I yeah, so it's a general, we leave all that aside to come here to hear me giving out about myself. Right. Leadership then. Our leadership has to be something conscious. I am conscious that I am the leader here in a particular situation. My job is a teacher. At this point in my life, I do very little teaching of youngsters, but I am very much involved here in Chandigarh with teachers. Because of COVID-19, the involvement is not as intense as I would like it to be, but we all have the same complaint in these times. The first function of a leader is the intention that whoever I come in contact with today will feel better for having met me. But that's important. You might meet the servant in your house, or in the school, or wherever you may be working. If leadership means anything, it means that whoever meets you today will feel the better for having met you. You smiled, you said thank you, you got out of the way, you shared the newspaper, whatever it was. You made that person feel a bit better because you were around. Now that's the heart of leadership. That around you, you spread an atmosphere that I have made this world a more enjoyable place for this boy, this girl, this woman, this man today. And that's a facet of leadership that I think is all too often forgotten. However, I'm not here to blame those who forget, because if you haven't ever heard it before, well then you're not going to forget it because you didn't have it to forget. Okay, we'll move on. The second thing is about leadership is, again, within yourself. All of you listening to me are involved in the LTS, Leadership Training Service. What training am I doing? The training that I am deliberately involved in is, one, I just told you, the other person would feel the better for having met me today in whatever capacity. And the other is, have I got enough to offer somebody else? I'm an old man, as you can see, and I have died twice. That sounds a bit funny, but I went very close to death, and the notices were sent around. We regret to inform you that Brother Brendan McCarthy, and fill in the dots, but they told everybody except God. So God came along and said, hey, who's making out this form? I'm supposed to decide on dying and living, and so I recovered twice. It's nice to have died twice. Nicer still to have recovered twice. But I've seen a lot of life as a result, and I'm still very much involved in it. The big temptation for an old guy like me is, look, I'm more than 80 years of age. So I can sit down now and relax and do what I like doing, and to hell with everybody else. I've done my bit. There is no my bit about leadership. There's no bit about it. Leadership is a state of life. You are a leader. If you join the LTS, you've committed yourself to be in all walks of life. I am a leader. That doesn't mean I have to be giving orders or directions. I have to be the sort of person in any society that people can depend on me, that I'll be nice to them, that I'll engage in conversation, and that probably I'll have something intelligent to say. And maybe I know nothing about it, like me and computers. And somebody may come along and say, Mac, I don't know how to get this station. What do I do? The straight answer is, I don't know. But as a leader, that person must feel the better for having met me. I still don't know about computers. I might say, then learn it. No, that's too facile. What I do is, well, now you're asking the wrong guy. I'm a dead loss when it comes to computers. Maybe let's try it together. We might get something out of it. In other words, you're making the person feel that he is important enough to cooperate with. You're making them feel better. You're not going to repair the computer. Somebody else will do that. That's not your job. Your job as a leader is this person must feel the better for having met me today. But that's much more simple than other suggestions that I have heard, and I wish it were more widely known. By the way, can you hear me clearly? Uh-oh.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. I see my head, it's probably true, my head is bigger than any other head on my screen. I hope that's not indicative of something less complimentary. Anyway, we'll have to go because I don't know how to adjust that. Here we go again. And don't tell me how, because I like it when my head is big. The person feels having met me. But I'm trying to convey that I know where I'm going in my life. Interest to be. I heard that this distinction people who stop. They person this after I for a job, if you for and I look at it. This story on the corral, you have 2% of life left in you. 2%. And her reply was, well, 2% is not nothing. I can do something with 2%. And she went on to make some sort of recovery. The third thing about her story was, and it was all, I find it hard to convey to you, she didn't talk as emphatically as I do. I have a very emphatic way of talking, and I know that. But she spoke casually, like she was going to the grocer's to buy a head of cabbage or something. Quite casually. Like the way she said, well, 2% is not nothing. I could do something with 2%. And we're still staring at her. 2% of life is I'm about to die. But she's saying, well, about to, but not completely, and gets on with it. Then at the end, the Chief Judge, Simon Cowell, who's now quite a famous person, he says, you know, I can't give you a yes, because many great singers have appeared on this program over the months that I have been here. And you're not a great singer, you're a good singer. And there was a big oh in the hall. Everybody had fallen in love with this youngster, 23 years of age, not married. And then he said, but I can't give you a yes, but I can give you, and he gave her the golden buzzer, and it showers down all those things. Right. And the last scene, now don't forget, she has triple cancer. She didn't get that last yes, but she got this shower stuff. She went dancing out of the hall, triple cancer, 2% of life, dancing out the back door, and the camera followed her, and she goes out the back door of the hall into the car park where there is nobody, and she's still dancing. Yes, changed my life. Please God, I will never complain again. And that's the last thing I want to say about leadership. There'll be plenty of negatives in your life. They may be there right now. You failed the exam, so have I. Welcome to the club. You've been dying of this disease or that, so have I. Welcome to the club. There are people who can't stand you. Welcome to the club. I've been at my age, you have seen all the bad sides and a few of the good sides. But this girl has taught me, put the good things in front. The bad things, take care of them. And that's one of the most important qualities of leadership. To be your best self. That's all. Not how you do it, special formulae. They have their place. Just be your best self at all times. That makes everybody feel the better. The wonderful thing about this girl I told you about was that she's a wonderful girl, just in herself. No airs, no graces, no accents. Her name indicates that she was from somewhere in Central Europe, but actually she's an American. But we forgive her for that. Yeah. So that's really all I want to say then about leadership today. Thank you for listening to me. As usual, I've gone over time. God bless you all.
Thank you, brother, for your inspiring words. Our youngsters are definitely enriched and aware of so many ways open to them to enhance their leadership effectiveness. To be focused, to be good, to be confident, positive minded, making the best of oneself, and the intention of leaving others enriched. How wonderfully you have praised it all. Thanks again, brother. I never stop admiring you, your ways. You've always been a source of inspiration, and these children are very lucky to have had you here to be able to listen to you and take away.
Keep to your script. Don't be adding these bits on. Just keep to the script.
I have to get carried away. Thank you once again. LTS children is a way of life for life. So we need to develop our human potential to the optimum. Make efforts to promote justice, truth, and love in the social milieu. Have a positive influence on others and devote ourselves to the service of our country. Keeping the present situation in mind, I would like to conclude with a quote taken from one of the LTS prayer books. We must stand in the deepest sorrow to see the clearest light. And often from wrong's own darkness comes the very strength of right. Thank you. Thank you to all the lovely panelists. Our children and all of us are definitely enriched Now we are open to questions. The students may ask questions. They may direct it to any particular panelist or leave it open to the panel. I request the panelists to kindly answer their questions. Yes. So we have Kashish.
Good evening. I want to ask that there may arise situations where there may be disagreement and conflict among our team members. So, in that situation, how do we as leaders handle that?
Kashish, would you repeat your question, please?
How do we as a leader handle disagreements or conflicts among our team members?
The question is too wide. It's too wide. You have to narrow it a little bit. Are you talking about teenagers and you yourself are one? Are you talking about an office situation? As I see it, your question has it's too wide. Can you hear me, Kashish?
Yes,
Yeah. So can you focus your
teenagers.
question?
Brother, I guess it is as a teenager, as a student.
Yeah.
She's the head girl of her team.
Right. And the team has a disagreement. Right. Now, it's hard for me to get back into being a teenager now and think how I would think then. But I do know that as a teenager, whatever the discussion is, you feel I want to win it. I want to come out on top. I'd say a good thing is not to let it pass, because this could be an important point. For example, somebody might say the LTS is a waste of time. Well, no, as an LTSer, you can't let that pass. But it's good to leave the ball in the other person's court. Okay, what makes you say it's a waste of time? Rather than, it is not a waste of time, you learn this. No, 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 no. It's good to toss the comment, the negative comment, back into the other person's court as calmly as you can. So what makes you say it's a waste of time? Or what makes you say she was unjust in what she said? Toss it back as a question to the other person. And then there might be a time for you to say, yes, that's true, that should not have happened. Or, as you see, you have misunderstood, or some such, to try to keep what we saw in that picture that Renee showed us at the beginning, this fiercely angry face. That's going to get nobody anywhere. That'll accomplish nothing in society. So to try to keep some level of calmness, but to recognize that truth is truth. So the speaker might have a point, then let her state her point, and to acknowledge that she has a point, rather than just make it, I have to defend, because LTS, like all societies, has its own shortcomings, and there are things that we do well, and things that we don't do well. So that's really all I could add, Kashish, but I'm very aware, I'm talking as an old man. I've forgotten how violent you feel when you're a teenager. That's all I want. Others might want to say something.
Natasha, I think you had raised your hand. Would you like to add to it?
Yes, Ms. Mehra. From my experience, conflict is always going to be part and parcel of your life at any stage. So it's looking at, as Mr. Topiwala as well as Brother Brendan has shared, is looking at perceptions, looking at what the other person has to say, and also moderating your language, your emotions to look or differentiate between fact and opinion. And if you are able to do that, then you are able to help the other person understand why or the reason behind what they're asking for and whether that's reasonable. So you may not be right all of the time, but dealing with a conflict with empathy and trying to understand somebody else's perception might help you in the right direction.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question. Alicia Rahman. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to ask, how do you measure your own performance at work?
How do you measure your own what, please?
How do you measure your own
How do you measure
performance
your
at
own
work?
performance?
Alicia, repeat it, please.
How do you measure your own performance at work?
Ah,
Yes, Miss Natasha.
Thank you for that question. What comes to my mind is a very, very valuable quote from Ray Kroc saying, "The quality of a leader is reflected in the standards they set for themselves." So it's depending on the standard that you set for yourself and how you discipline and achieve it, you are measuring your own success. That's my view.
Would
Thank you
anyone
so
else
much,
like
ma'am,
to
for answering that.
would anyone else like to add to it? Any of the panelists?
yeah, I would like to say, what about the standards you have set for yourself? Maybe they could do with a little alteration. If I am a politician, for example, my standards, as listening to all the politicians here in India, your standard is how much am I promoting the party, not whether the thing is essentially good for society. So I'd say, Alicia, you want to recheck, first of all, what your standards are in judging yourself. Is it merely that I was successful in silencing the other party? Or was I successful in promoting the cause of some group to which I belong? Or am I really promoting the welfare, the health, the sense of well-being of the other party? So you'd want to be clear on what your own standards are. And maybe you already are now, Alicia, maybe you are. But I'm saying that would be necessary to put that into your question before anybody can answer it competently. That's what I think, anyway.
Swati, I think you wanted to add something.
Yeah, I would just like to add that, most of the time when we judge our own performance at work or elsewhere, our standard for judging ourselves, the problem is that most of the time we compare with others and that's how we assess our performance. And that's how things tend to go wrong because the reality is that my potential and the other person's potential is different. So my best is different, the other person's best is different. So don't judge yourself by by comparing yourself with others. I mean, this is a very oft repeated thing. What I'm saying, we are often told in school and that don't compare yourself with others, and because that leads more to negativity than actually solving your problem. So your standard of judging your own work has to be because you know what you are capable of. No one knows you better than yourself. So judge yourself by your inner voice. Does your inner voice say that have you really put in your best? Is this really your true potential? So that should be your measure of how to judge yourself, and not by comparing yourself with others.
Thank you, panelists.
Yeah,
Yes,
Kalpana, let me put something.
Mr. Topiwala would like to add.
Yeah, I'd
Please
just
go
like
ahead.
to add a small story to it about comparing yourself, as she's mentioned. I'm talking more on peer pressure right now. This was a real-time experiment done in one of the universities, where a person came in and walked in and he said, "Okay, I require 20 volunteers from the group." and he stepped forward. So 20 volunteers stepped forward. To 10 volunteers, he gave them $1 each and said, go and buy something from outside or wherever the campus was. And they went outside. The other 10 people who were there in the room, he told them, look, I'm going to fix you all up in the sense like I will swing a pendulum, and if I swing it 10 times, you add 2 to it and say 12. So when I swing it 10 times, you say 12, and 10 people say 12. Okay, that was it. That was the only thing that the person who was moderating the thing told the group. So these people who had gone outside, they came back with a lot of things like $1 what they could buy, and they thought that this activity was only to the fact that what they could buy with that $1. The moderator was kind enough to accept the things they bought and all those things. He said, okay, fine, I have another thing to do right now, an activity. Why don't one of you all just stay here? The 10 people out here. I was doing the pendulum. And this is a live experiment done in a university. I think brother had mentioned it once in one of the camps also. I remember this. Yes, brother, he's nodding his head, so he remembers that. Okay. So he swung the pendulum and it was a swing of 12. And the first person said 14 because he had 12 plus 2. So 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, 14. Went to the 10th person, said 14. And the 11th person who had gone outside, he had actually counted 12, but he said 14. How could all the others be wrong? So that's where the peer pressure comes in. So you have to stand out. At times these things do affect us because the others have said 12. Others have said 14. I need to say 14. So that's where, brother, if you can elaborate more on this, it will be nice. In fact, any of the questions right now for the panelists, first please address it to brother, and if he takes it off, from there. Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, but your story is essentially true that people will follow the largest number because, to put it in a very big sentence, the world that you live in and that I live in is largely governed by fear of everybody else. We are afraid of everybody else. That's a big statement. But I've seen it again and again and again. People live in fear. For example, I'm a schoolman. If I pass a teacher on the corridor and I don't say good morning, she will come after me and say, brother, sorry, you never said good morning. She is afraid. I notice sometimes when I'm passing an acquaintance, I say to myself, giving myself a psychological test or something, I won't say anything. Why am I saying to myself I won't say anything? Because I am afraid that there's some negative result. We are compelled all of the time to deal with fear. Husband, wife, family, children, and of course in society. So fear is the governing factor of our lives until we confront it. I have a few stories connected with that, but this is not the time for it. But what Hamid said as an experiment, that I was embarrassed. I remember telling the crowd we had the competition in St. Joseph's College, Beaubasar. It was an LTS leaders meeting, and they were leaders of leaders, and they all fell into the trap. In other words, what I did was I gave each one 2 rupees, go out and buy some chanachur or something in the lane. And when they were out, I told the others, I'm going to clap 6 times. When I ask you how many times I clapped, you are to say 7. And because now gives me practice, back they all came with their chanachur. I said, great, you're going to share it in a minute, just a minute. I'm going to clap my hands. Sit down here, you team sit down. The team A sat down. I clap my hands. How many times did I clap my hands? And the first leader said 7, and they all said 7. And then the chap would come back with the chanachur. He was now the leader of the group. He said 7, just as Hunayn said. And they all fell into the trap. And the teachers who were with them from the major schools of Calcutta, they come with a big conference. They came up to me afterwards and said, brother, we were frightened. We found we would have said 7 as well. We are afraid of one another, dear people. I've done whole camps just on coping with fear. The whole world lives in fear. Yeah, not because of COVID-19, although that's an added factor, but there the cause of fear is different. But the world lives in fear of others, and that's why advertising wins. How can you get on without buying this sort of toothpaste, this sort of lipstick, this sort of dress, this sort of car? What will the neighbors say? Lo que aquí volve is the first sentence I learned in Bengali. Lo que aquí volve. What will the neighbors say? So we live in fear. So to get back to the original question, that's largely the explanation of many of our responses to life. We got so used to it, we think it's normal. It is. That's the sad thing. Sorry for speech. You asked me.
We love it.
Thank you, brother. Swati, do you want to add something?
No, that's all.
Oh dear.
Okay, then we can move on to the next question. We have Vedant Gupta with his question.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question that why every teacher says that it's not right to compare your marks with others. Because I think it's right so. Because when a mother or a father compares child with another child, he or she just want to make his child better so that he could do something for his country.
Before brother answer this question, he will get a mouthful from brother for this. So brother, you can take this question for us. Brother was never into this rat rate of marks. He used to scold us. What is these marks all about? No, but brother, you can explain it right now. You have the podium and you have the stage.
Today is talking about when he was a young man 40 years ago. Vedant, there is no harm whatever in comparing yourself with others. It is not wrong. It is neither right nor wrong. It's like the weather. It is simply so. But I mentioned earlier that we tend to live in fear, and our fear has taught us if my marks in some exam are less than his, then I am somehow an inferior person, which is a load of garbage. But that's the way society works. And I remember trying to tell a class of seniors in Calcutta that I flunked my school leaving cert and I flunked 5 out of 7 subjects. They thought I was lying. But it's the truth. And so I had to live with that. Did it make me a lesser person? Fortunately, maybe I couldn't be made any lesser than I was, but it didn't daunt me. Okay, so I flunked, so I'll do it again, and I did it again, and I was less stupid the second time around. So with that, we set ourselves standard, and the standard we set are the guy next door. I have to be better than him. But we don't. But that's the way society functions. Society functions with regard to other people. Instead of teaching us to depend on myself, this is my best, etc., we tend to compare, and we compare in fear. If my score is better than hers or his, then everything is okay. If it's less, then somebody is going to say, oh, that's all you got, only 95. She got 97, and here we go again. But our country and our world is full of it. We live on fear. It's a choice we have made. We don't have to. It's a choice we have made because they're not taught in school not to be afraid. And school is largely to blame for many of the social ills that we have to compete with. Anyway, yeah.
Thank you, brother. We have time now for one last question.
Oh, dear, I'm the only one answering. This is not fair. What about all the other adults who have opinions? Daphne, I haven't even said hello to you. And we were friends 1,000 years ago. Sorry, well, maybe 999 years.
If the panelists would like to add to this, after that we'll go on to the last question.
About comparing the marks and Vedant's question.
Yes.
Yeah. See, again, very a live example of myself. Right. When till class three, I was not a good student at all. My sister, who is a doctor now, she used to teach me, and she was in higher secondary school or whatever you call it, and my brother was in the same school that I was in, and they were both very good students. So the teachers used to call me my brother, who was then he was 5 years elder to me, would call him and tell him that he's the black sheep of the family. And my sister gave up on me for education. He said, "Oh, now you will have to do it on your own." Vedant, that was the time turning. It was a moment for me where I decided, like, I will not depend on others. My sister said, "I will not teach you. Now you have to learn it by yourself." And believe me, I actually, I did not flunk any class, but I was almost. We had around 55 students. I was the 50th, whatever ranks we used to get. But when I went to class six, I came within the first 30, and then I moved on, and eventually I was a school topper. It happens like that. When you decide yourself, you don't have to compare yourself to anybody in life. When you decide yourself, it's time to move on. You will do it.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. My own personal experience.
Good man. Yes, very funny. I accept that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Natasha, you want to add something to this?
Yes, I completely agree with both the panelists and especially Brother Brendan, where Indian society, unfortunately, is very Marx oriented, and it's sad because that is crippling some of our young people. What I can say, I'm currently in a very fortunate position where I recruit people myself, and when we look at qualifications, we don't look at marks. We look at your skills, we look at your abilities, we look at your tenacity to be able to remain in the job that I'm employing you to, and the resilience. And that comes from your passion for whatever you want to do, your skills, and your experience that you have developed. So it is sad that Indian society is still subjecting, unfortunately, millions of our young people to this standard of comparing yourself with somebody, which is unhealthy. As long as it's healthy, where it inspires you and helps you to have an ambition, but not for you to feel as an inferior, then comparing marks may not be necessary in real life. That's my view.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd run with that. I'd run with that. Yeah.
Thank you, panelists. Now, one last question. The questions that I'm reading on the chat box are similar to the ones that have already been answered. So, if we do not have another question, then we can move on to the next part of the program.
Sir, one last question.
Yes, we can move on to the next part of the program.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for moderating a most wonderful panel discussion. We also thank our panelists for sharing their wisdom. Thank you once again. I now take the opportunity to introduce our chief guest, Mrs. Daphne Stockman. Mrs. Daphne Stockman has been involved with LTS from 1962, helping in the LTS office. A few years later, she was trained by Father Bert, SJ, and Sister Cyril at the great training programs for LTS guides. Mrs. Stockman became a guide to the second town unit and from then on to the other town units of LTS. She was part of some very challenging camps, like the one in Burapukur with some outstanding LTSs. She met former Chief Minister Mr. Jyoti Basu when she assisted in Kolkata war with some LTS members. When the then director of LTS, Father Worth, left for Malta, Mrs. Stockman volunteered to take up LTS at the All India level. The Society of Jesus appointed her as national promoter of LTS. The time spent in the LTS were the finest moments of her life. Working with young people is challenging, but also a great source of joy, she says. When her husband passed away in 2002, she decided to join her brother in Canada. Mrs. Stockman has written two books, Kaleidoscope and Multicolored Flower. The second book is based on LTS and on her LTS experiences. Welcome back, ma'am. We request you to address the LTSs on this virtual platform.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to salute our pioneers and those who unfortunately are not here with us. Father Robert Worth, S.J., former national promoter, Father Raymond Pillett, S.J., who actually started the first unit in Kolkata with some boys from Gothals who came for college studies to St. Xavier's, Mary Ann Lobo, a great guide and animator, Mr. Joseph Chirmal, also a great guide, animator, and advisor, and maybe many others too. These are all part of our LTS history, and I would like to salute them today. Congratulations now to all of you, young people, your national promoter, Father Rogers, my sweet niece and principal of Loreto and Tally, and moderator Sudha, who has been in touch with me, and so many others who have organized this wonderful, wonderful platform. For a youth movement to last 60 years in this upside down world says a lot about you, young people, and your educators and guides. LTS is unique. I have written two books, one multi-colored flower, which symbolizes LTS in the world. You may read it. It may inspire you to something needed in this country of India and the world. The group called Scorpions. It's a name that could lead us off track. Have written a beautiful song which summarizes today, and I will just read part of it, not the whole thing. The world is closing in. And did you ever think that we could be so close, like brothers, and I've added, and sisters? The future is in the air. Can feel it everywhere, blowing with the wind of change. Take me to the magic of the moment on a glory night, where the children of tomorrow, that's all of you, dream and wait in the wind of change, walking down the street, and distant memories are buried in the past forever. I follow them in this world down to world's end, listening to the wind of change. The wind of change blows straight into the face of time, like a storm wind, bringing rain, the freedom bells for peace of mind, letting me to sing what my guitar wants to say. There's a beautiful words, and I would encourage you to get this book because it's all about the LTS. Okay, So the message which I want to bring to all of you is the word change. We have heard in the discussions that leadership is no more a one person out front there with others uh, following without thinking. Yes, every leader has followers, but followers who think. In the old days, we used to have a leader with blind followers. That is gone forever. It has more, yeah, it has become now in today's world, leadership is a team effort. We just heard that it's a lonely life to be a leader by yourself. There's fear all around. Now the concept of team and groups as leadership teams and groups are very, very powerful in today's world. And people, this is because people are qualified. They don't need to be told what to do. In a company, enterprise, or in a group like ours, there's a lot of gifts and talents, and all the leader has to do is to get them together, get these things together for the common good. That is important, in line with the vision and mission of the organization. So the type of leader needed today are those who situate themselves in the center of a team or group, not in front. His or her job is to motivate, encourage, exercise good relationships within the teams. I was so happy to hear Hunaid picking you all up on what you saw on that picture. Everyone went on the feelings because that is most important today. So it's part of the good relationships that we need to build up within the teams and outside the team. I think this is what LTS has tried to do over the years, and I think that is why it's alive today. Another aspect of leadership today is the power of influencing, and here is where LTS can play a great role. Leaders do not function in a vacuum. Leaders emerge within a situation, event, challenge. You may notice that a person who normally will not exercise leadership, say in a situation of war, will exercise leadership in another situation where his or her talents are needed. So leadership is something that can happen to anybody actually. If they act in an event or in a challenging situation. I remember Father Rogers when he guided LTS towards planet Earth, then the role of women. These are areas of reality, and leadership to play the role of influence have to touch these realities of life and act in exercising this influence over other teams and groups. Always service is key to any area of influence. Father Worth S.J. would always say, even if you are the head of a company or even the president of a country, you serve the people. So we remember that in LTS. Today, there is this wind of change bringing in integration, not segregation. People and cultures are trying their best to come together. We are not functioning on color codes. We are persons. We have feelings. This area is one to work on. In the West, there's a lot of controversy over this particular topic. We are moving from micro groups to macro groups at the community level. I can, how can one influence in your community or area where you live? I remember Sister Cyril's work with the pavement children, something in the community around the school. LTSers, my dear friends, you know, today you have given me such joy for inviting me to this program. 60 years. I am 87 years old. So I may not have another chance of joining you in one of your programs, but my heart goes out to each of you because you are great people, young people. You need change, yes, and you will help others to change. Truth is lacking in our world, but LTS has some of it because it's spreading values and um, like integrity and so forth. Most of all, you need space to be able to help in making these changes, and not an empty space where you sit down and let time go, because that kind of space gets full of weeds after a time. But the space where you meet the unknown to unravel his vision and plans for the world, for your community, for your family. LTS has this too. I leave you with thoughts from another book I have written, which is, uh, I get calls about it every day almost. It's called Kaleidoscope, and it's all about justice issues. Um, the whole thing is summed up in this sentence: colors of life that deepen as you see a prism of events. And you know, to tell you the truth, I would not have written these books without my training and motivation and inspiration from LTS. Not only LTS, but another group called CLC. So I feel that the fruit of the training of the living in these groups has helped me to stand up and to talk in words, in writing. So, my dear young friends, what a day this is. I am going to write it in my diary, surely. And let us move on. To all of you, my young friends, I will close with the words of Robert Frost. And I have changed one word in it. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but you, my young friends, have promises to keep and miles to go before you sleep, and miles to go before you sleep. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Of course, you're always in my prayers. LTS is right up here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for those words of inspiration. We wish you good health and
Thank,
happiness.
thank you.
May I now request our respected principal, ma'am, Mrs. Surana, to give the vote of
Vote of
thanks.
thanks.
A very good evening to everyone. It indeed is a privilege to give the vote of thanks. It is very true that webinars and interactions like these will go not a long way, but a very, very long way to enhance leadership effectiveness. A true leader is one who feels and is felt. Leadership grows from within. We have to internalize what we want to see and what we want it to be. It comes from deep down. And this evening, I'm sure, is going to be cherished by all of us. To begin with, I would like to thank our chief guest, Mrs. Daphne Stockman, whom it's very difficult, Auntie, to say Daphne Stockman, because you are always our Auntie Dot. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And as you mentioned, I was seeing through all the mails, you are 87. At 87, you are an inspiration. Your energy, your enthusiasm is contagious. And this is something that we look forward to. We young leaders need to fall back. We need to go back to you if we want to move forward. So thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. And Loreto has always been close to you. So on behalf of all our sisters at Loreto, I thank you so much for being here this evening. I would like to thank Father John. He is our guide to all our teachers. And in the morning, when you awake and you see that LTS WhatsApp group, it is a blessing because such wonderful messages come forward. The pandemic has been bad on many accounts, but there's a lot of beauty in all that has happened. Yes, this webinar that we could have everyone from all over the world coming together is the biggest positive. And even the lovely messages that we see and all these newly formed WhatsApp groups. I think there's so much of exchanging that happens and so much of empowerment for all of us. So thank you, Father John, for always being there beside us. I would like to thank our panelists. To begin with, Brother Brendan McCarthy, how beautifully you said that a leader is someone who always makes the other person feel good after that interaction. And I tell you, every time, not too many times, that I have interacted with you when you did come to school to do a session with our teachers, and even this evening, the feel good factor stays on. And I'm sure you are a leader with a lot of feelings. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I would like to thank Mr. Hunaid Topiwala. And I love the way you told Vedant, I hope I've got his name correct, when you spoke about your personal experience and how that self-realization is so important. We need not compare ourselves to others, but that moment of realization is where the change takes place. And I'm sure all of us over here have had those moments of realization. Thank you so much for sharing that. I would like to thank Mrs. Swati Joshi Pan, and she spoke about Dhyan Ashram. And yes, Santali students still went to Dhyan Ashram before the pandemic for a 3-day retreat. And just like you, they have a lot of experiences and memories that they will cherish for a lifetime. So thank you for being here this evening. Thank you, Natasha. It is wonderful. I know you've left because you had some other work, but still I'll go ahead by thanking you and telling you, you are an inspiration. It is wonderful that we bring home girls like you, girls who are from the soil of Loreto Convent and Tally, because our children need to believe that even rising stars come from Loreto Convent and Tally. Thank you so much. Mrs. Kavita Mehra, what a wonderful moderator you were this evening, and how wonderfully you conducted the entire panel discussion. Thank you. Thank you very much for conducting the panel discussion. I would like to thank all our principals who have joined us from various other schools. Thank you so much for being my support and the support of Loreto Convent and Tally. Thank you. Our special guests who have joined us from all over the world. Thank you. A lot of family members have come in today. Thank you so much for being there. I feel stronger. Thank you. It means a lot to find all of you in a webinar. Thank you to the animators of other schools who accepted our invitation. Thank you, wonderful students. We are there because of you. An educational institution has no value if there's no students. We get stronger by you being the center of our lives. So thank you for being here this evening. I would like to thank Sister Flora Anthony, the Secretary of the Managing Committee of Loreto Convent and Tally, who believes in all that we do and provides us support with all the newfound amazing events that we plan. But you are our pillar. Thank you so much. I would like to thank the LCE teacher animators, Miss Pillai, Miss D. Shaha, very new member B. Vadwani, J. Rodrigues, K. Lakra, R. Kushari, and Mrs. U. Islam. Thank you, office bearers of LTS, LCE, Vishakha Loki, Mansi, Shurjoshri. Thank you. Thank you to our technical girls, Nitika and Mansi Agarwal. Thank you to Rumshit Shaha, who has helped us in getting all the technical YouTube links together. Thank you. And our lovely MC, Harshita. It is you, youngsters.